Okay. 2 days ago I had no voice at all, so hopefully my voice will hold up. But we'll see how it goes as the time goes on. So most of today, I'm just going to tell you about the structure of the class, what kind of stuff we're going to do, and get you used to where all the documents, assignments, and everything are going to be. And then maybe we'll be able to get into a little bit of the start of physics stuff after I'm done with that. The first thing I want to do is just show you your way around D2L and everything. I know most of you have used D2L before, but it's really important in this class. So let me start with that. So to get to D2L, if you go to the main Normandale webpage, there's a drop-down menu over on the upper right. Click on that and go to current students. And then down below, there's a link to D2L. And you have to use your star ID to log in. If anybody is having any trouble getting logged into D2L, please let me know and I can help you find the right place to get help. Once you log into D2L, you'll see something like this where it lists all your classes. And so this is what the main page looks like for our physics class. The first thing you see is this list of announcements. And you should get in the habit of just checking that about once a day. Whenever I give you a new assignment or make an update to something or correct something, there'll be an announcement there talking about it. And later when I start entering grades to stuff, that'll be under assessments grade. So you'll be able to check your grade all the time as we go. For submitting assignments, I'll talk about what kind of assignments they're going to be, but that's also going to be here. So you're going to do your assignments, write them out on paper, then either scan them or take a picture of them and submit a PDF or a picture file into assignments here. So when we get to some assignments, I probably won't give you one today, but I'll probably give you, so your first one will be on Monday, but I'll tell you exactly where to go and where the folders are and stuff like that. And then all the materials that you need for this class, well, where would the materials be? Under materials, right? No. Everything that you need is going to be under content. Okay, so let's look at what's there right now. Here are the sections that we have so far. There are some lecture notes by topic. These are like old lecture notes. So if you want to skim ahead to sort of see what's coming, you can look in here and see what topics are coming up. If you want to read a little bit, skim a little bit about 1D particle kinematics, just one of the topics we're doing, click on that and you can see what you see is everything that that I write up on the computer screen. I'm going to do all my lectures on a tablet. You can think of it as everything I write up here. Treat it the same way you would if I was up at the whiteboard. Just take notes on everything I write, you know. The benefit of doing it on here is then I can post a PDF and a video of the lecture. So every lecture is going to have a video where you can see my pen moving along on the screen and hear my voice, you know. So if you miss a class, it's really easy to catch up on what you missed. But yeah, if you ever watch the lecture and you want to get just another sort of way of saying whatever I said that day, you don't understand something, you might find it helpful to look at an old lecture video. So you can just go to whatever topic it is and look at that video. Anyways, that's there. There are also some, these problem walkthroughs are just, there's a few different kinds of problems. The title of each one sort of describes what it is. So if you're ever working on a problem and stuck and the example problems didn't help you, maybe there's something here that'll help you. And then so every day, every class period, I'm going to give you an assignment for that class. That assignment is going to come from these problems. So it'll say something like vectors numbers 3 through 6, say, okay? And so then you would go to the vectors problem, and your assignment would be, you scroll down to number 3 and do 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. For every one of these daily problems, there are solutions posted. So if you ever get stuck on a daily problem, you can go to the solutions, use that to get unstuck, and then go through the problem. Remember, though, that the way to learn this material is to do these problems without looking at solutions, So you should either just use the solutions as a way to get yourself unstuck and then keep going on from there on your own, or to check your work at the end, okay? Don't go to the solution and sort of line by line, you can kind of trick yourself into thinking that you're learning this material if you're going along line by line following the solution, but it's just not doing the same thing to teach it to you as figuring out how to do it on your own, So those solutions are there, they can be helpful, but you need to use them the right way, or else it can actually do more harm than good that it's there, you know what I mean? But the main thing I want to do today is just go over the syllabus, talk about the structure of the class. So the syllabus is under course information. Well, I'm looking at the one for section 21. So half of you are in section 21, half of you are in 22. So if you're in 21, it says your lab is on Mondays from 1:30 to 3:20. If you're in section 22, it would be Wednesdays from 1:30 to 3:20. My name is Gaio Lakin. Please call me Gaio. My office is right up the stairs over here. But really, you probably won't use my office much. My office hours I do in the tutoring center, so there's more seating and so there's places where if you want to just come to my office hours and work on stuff, even if you don't have specific questions yet, you can do that. And then I'm there if you get stuck, A lot of people find that useful. So that's why I do my office hours in the tutoring center. My office hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 3:20, and Fridays from 12 to 150. Oh, my email, you can get a hold of me by email, or you can leave messages on my phone. But really the best way to get a hold of me, the most effective way, is to use the instant messenger on D2L. That's this thing right here. So if you send me messages through there, it's just so much easier for me not to like lose those messages, because all I have there is student messages, you know. So you can send me emails and I'll respond to it. But it seems to work better if you send through this. So one other thing about office hours. So these are my office hours. But if it's hard for you to get to office hours, or you want to meet outside of that, we can work that out. And if you want to meet over Zoom, we can work that out. So just if these times don't work for you, please just send me a message and we can figure out a time to talk. Okay. There's no textbook for this class. Basically, what I say in class, I'm trying to give you the most concise version I can of what you need to know and what I want you to remember to be able to do the problems and move forward and, you know, go on to future classes that require this. And so really all I want you to do, I mean, I say all, I mean, it's a lot, but like what I want you to do is I want you to work towards remembering what I say, you know, and I want you to work towards remembering how to do all of those daily problems. And if you can do those two things, you're going to do great in this class. Then no question about it. It won't be stressful or anything like that. So that's why I don't use a textbook in this class. I want to just boil it down to the stuff I want you to know. I want you to take the notes. Then I want you to reread the notes. Then a couple weeks later, I want you to reread the notes, reread them. And I want you to just really try to stick that stuff in your head, you know? So that means the only materials you need for this class are a scientific calculator. It needs to have trig functions. And actually, I mean, if you have it, it's helpful. More and more now, people just use their phones as a calculator. You can't use your phone on tests, though. I have a few calculators that I can loan out on tests. So anyways, you could probably get by without a calculator, but if you have access to one, it would be helpful, because we only have about 10 to loan out or something like that. Okay, there's no textbook required. If after this class is over, you want a reference book, these are two good ones. This Giancoli book is like a full textbook, so it's expensive, you know. Probably a better option is this Shams Outline. Shams Outlines they're like paperback books. They cost about $25, so they're pretty cheap. They have concise little descriptions of all the different topics, and then they have a whole bunch of problems with full solutions to most of them, and just answers to the ones they don't have full solutions for. It's really useful if you're planning to take any kind of standardized test based on this material later. It's a really good way to study. Like, I know sometimes people take this class as a pre-med requirement. So if you're going to end up taking an MCAT, this Shams Outline is a really useful way to study for that test. As far as this class on its own, I wouldn't recommend using any outside materials for that. I would just recommend trying to understand and remember what I say. I think if you do that, that's the most efficient way to get to where I want you to get, you know? Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, well, it says the prerequisite is college algebra. That's more or less true. But there are some other math classes you can take instead of that. The website for the class is D2L. I went over that a little bit. The topics we're going to cover, it's mostly going to be particle physics, which means we're not going to be dealing with the rotations of objects. We're only going to be dealing with their motion through space. And we'll talk about forces and mass, circular motion, momentum, energy, and then maybe fluids and waves at the end if we get to that. The grading scale for this class, it can be, it's possible if the grades are lower than I mean them to be on some tests or something, I might curve it a little bit, but most likely this is going to be the grading scale for the class. 90 and above is an A, 80 to 90 is a B, 70 to 80 is a C, and over 60 to pass. And to make up that grade, it'll be weighted 10% lab exams, 10% lecture quizzes, 10% daily assignments, 20% weekly assignments, and then 50% exams. So exams are the biggest part of this. So now I'm going to go through each of these five categories and just describe what to expect from each of those. So lab exams. So this is a lab class. You have to do the lab part to pass the class. The labs are going to focus largely on sort of intuitive understanding of physics. And I'm not going to grade your work in the labs themselves. In the labs themselves, I'm just going to take attendance, like, yes, you did the lab or you didn't. Your grade for the labs is just going to come from these lab exams. So 3 times during the semester, we're going to spend the lab period where you're just going to be taking a test, answering questions like the lab activities. Okay. So to get ready for the lab exams, you're going to want to go back through your old lab handouts and remind yourself how to do that stuff. Okay. So every lab, I'm going to give you a handout, like a worksheet kind of thing. You're going to work your way through it with your lab partners. Then that's yours to keep, that handout. And based on what you did in lab, then you're going to want to remind yourself how to do these kind of problems before the lab exams. That's the idea. Since there's 3 lab exams and it adds up to 10% of your grade, each one is just over 3% of your grade. So it's not, none of those lab exams are like very high stakes or anything, but they add up to about a full letter grade. The lab exams are going to be, remember this syllabus is just for section 21. For section 21, these exams are going to be Monday, February 26th, Monday, April 1st, Monday, April 29th. Those are going to be the 3 lab exams. for section 22, the other half of the class, this would just say the Wednesdays that week, just during your lab period. Okay, so that's the first 10% of your grade. Anybody have any questions about labs or the lab exams? Then another 10% of your grade are the lecture quizzes. So I said that there's two things that sort of make up your success in this class. One is how well you remember how to do the daily problems. And the other one is just how well you remember what I said in class. The lecture quizzes are just how I'm trying to get you to read and reread your notes to remember what I said in class. Maybe every other week or so, a total of maybe 6 to 8 times during the semester. The Wednesday class will end with about a 5-minute quiz that's just going to be short answer questions about what I said in class. And so here, let's pull one up and I'll show you an example of what kind of questions these are. Okay, so like for example, one of the questions could be, what are the two properties of a vector? Okay, that definitely is going to be one at some point. I ask that every semester, so there you go. If you write that down right now, and you get 1 free point. And so that will have been something that I talked about in class, and you'll just either remember it or not remember it, basically. So it's my way of just checking to make sure that you're looking back over your notes. There's going to be a total of, like I said, 6 to 8 probably quizzes. Of those, I'm going to drop the lowest 2 scores that you get from your grade. So that means you could miss 1 or 2 of them or do badly on 1 or 2 of them, and that won't show up in your grade. One thing to keep in mind is that the lab exams, the lecture quizzes, and the exams for the class are all cumulative. So to get ready for these, like, you want to go all the way back to the beginning, okay? It's like a lot of classes, let's say your third exam will just cover the material from the second exam to the third exam. All of my stuff is going to deal with material all the way back to the beginning. You have to, go all the way back to the beginning for the final anyways. We might as well do it the whole time. I'm just trying to get you to remember this stuff in the long term, Okay, the third thing that's worth 10% of your grade are daily assignments. So after every class, I'm going to assign some number of problems from the problems that are posted. And you're going to do them and either take a picture or scan it and submit the files, the files from that picture or scan. You have full solutions to these. I'm not going to be grading these. I'm just going to be checking off whether you've turned it in or not. And that's where your grade for this comes in. There's going to be a lot of these assignments. There's 16 weeks in the semester, 2 classes per week. So that's a total of about 32, somewhere around there, daily assignments. And I'm just going to, if you turn it in, you get a 1 out of 1 for that day. If you don't turn it in, you get a 0 out of 1. So the whole thing is worth 10% of your grade. That's not very much. Just remember that how well you understand those daily problems is a super important part of how well you're going to do on the exams and on the weekly assignments. Okay. So you can get full points for the daily assignments by just copying those solutions. Just remember that that's not doing what you want those problems to do for you. You know, that's not teaching you the material the way you learn it by making yourself struggle through those problems. And I will drop the 2 lowest daily assignment scores. So out of those 30 or 32 total daily assignments, you could miss 2 of them and still get a full score for the daily assignments. And then we get into the 2 topics that are worth more than 10%, weekly assignments and exams. Weekly assignments, there'll be probably 6 to 8 of those, about the same as the quizzes. Those are going to be problems like on the daily assignments, but I'm not going to give you solutions to them. And I'm not just going to check off, I'm going to grade those the same way I would a test or something. I'm always going to put some old material and some new material on those to try to keep you, thinking back on old problems. You'll submit those the same way you submit the daily problems. Take a photo or a scan and submit that on D2L. You can feel free to work with each other on these problems, but the stuff you turn in, you should do on your own, So like working together, think of that as you work together to gain an understanding of how to do the problems. But then you should be able to go off on your own and do those problems without looking at whatever you wrote down when you were together. You know what I mean? To me, that's the difference between copying someone's work and learning from someone and turning in your own work. Okay. Maybe the number one thing I don't want you doing on these weekly assignments, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the website Chegg. There are a few other websites sort of similar to it, but there are websites where you can submit a problem, and a day later they'll have their experts go through and solve the problem for you. Turning in stuff like that is cheating, and none of us want to go down that road of dealing with academic misconduct and stuff. So my recommendation is just don't use websites like Chegg for anything, even if you go into it with honest intentions. It can just kind of suck you into like writing down a little more than you should, I think just stay away from that. Also, if you have questions on the weekly assignments, I won't walk you through those problems because it's part of my evaluation of how well you're understanding this stuff. But I'd be happy to give hints here and there, if you're like, well, I don't know, I'm stuck at this point, or I'd be happy to give you a little bump, on stuff like that. So in other words, yeah, don't go to websites like Chegg. Talk to each other or talk to me, and yeah. For the weekly assignments, I'll drop the lowest one weekly assignment, but it's still similar idea, so you could do badly on one of those and it doesn't show up in your grade. And then the biggest part of your grade are the exams. There are 4 of them, so each one is worth 12.5% of your grade. Each one of the exams is cumulative, just like the quizzes, which means to get ready for an exam, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the class. The exams are going to be all problems, solving problems, like the assignments I give you each day after class. And so the best way to get ready for the exams is to make sure that you know how to do the problems. And I think the most effective way to do that, and like sort of time efficient way to do that, is go back to the first problem and ask yourself, do I know the steps to do this? And if you can in your head sort of think like, oh yeah, you do this, 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 then don't worry about that one, go on to the next one. And then on the second one, if you get to it and you're a little hazy on what to do, then that's the one that you want to spend some time going back over to reteach yourself how to do it, okay? That way you don't have to go through, you don't have to do every single problem again, but you can sort of evaluate what you remember and what you don't. I have one way to sort of give you a mulligan on this stuff if you have one bad exam. If your fourth exam, your last exam, is higher than any of your first three, your exam 4 will replace your lowest score of the first three. So, like, say that you got a 90 on exams 1, 3, and 4, but you got a 30 on exam 2. Like, you really bombed exam 2. You didn't have time to study or whatever. Then, since your exam 4 score is higher than that exam 2 score, the 90 from exam 4 replaces that 30, and you just get a score of 90 on all your exams. Okay. That it only does that for one of the first 3 exams. So like if you got 100 on your 4th exam, that doesn't give you 100 on all 4 of the other, on all 3 of the other ones, but it will replace the lowest of those 4. If your exam 4 is the lowest score that you got, then there's no way to replace that exam 4 score, that final score, but at least it doesn't replace anything else. So it just counts as itself and the other ones stay the way it is. Okay. Okay, so that's everything that goes into the grading. Does anyone have any questions about the grading? And then labs, I sort of mentioned this, but I'm taking attendance at labs. So even though I don't grade you on individual labs, that's all done through those lab exams. I will, check down whether you've been there and done it or not. If you miss 3 labs or more, you can't pass the class. I mean, I could probably be flexible and we could figure out, some way to make it up. But basically, it's your responsibility to be at all the labs, basically, And then the cheating policy stuff, it basically says more stuff about Chegg and AI. It's pretty easy to avoid that stuff. So hopefully everyone will just avoid that. And then below that, there's a few little bits of helpful information, additional resources. So you might want to glance through this later on your own. Anybody have any questions about the class or the syllabus? Okay, so any week where So the people in this class have either Monday labs or Wednesday labs. So any week where there's no school on Monday or Wednesday, we don't have lab that week. That means we don't have lab this week because, sorry, I missed Monday. It also means we don't have lab next week because Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So we have 2 weeks, no labs. But then on the third week, be sure you know your schedule and you're ready to go to lab, okay? Okay, well, I think I'm about done talking today, unfortunately. So let's just call it a class there. And on Monday, we'll be able to get into material and I'll be able to give you your first assignment. But okay, so we're easing into it this week. If anybody has any questions about, registration or anything, please send me a message and I'll get right back to you. And okay, I'll see you on Monday. Oh, no, I won't. Not Monday. We don't have school Monday. Yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday.